Hello and welcome to the third episode of our awesome African series. And today we're talking to Thabo Mashegoane, who is the president of the Institute of Information Technology Professionals that works to support the professionalism of IT. And he's also serving on the Africa ICT Alliance as a vice chairman to promote digital adoption in Africa. Hi, everybody. This is Zahara. Today we have Thabo Mashegoane with us, and he's a business architect, and he's also the president of the Institute of Information Technology Professionals. And he's also part of the Africa ICT Alliance. So Thabo, please tell us a little bit about some of the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Zahara. My name is Thabo Mashegoane, and as have been introduced, the work that I do outside my daily job, I'm the president of the Institute of IT Professionals in South Africa, and our main focus is to promote professionalism in South Africa, IT professionalism in South Africa, make sure that the industry and the professionals are abiding to ethics and a code of conduct, so that the work that they produce is beyond reproach. This is very important going forward, given the fact that IT is moving from the fringes in being one of the key capabilities in business, and ethical conduct comes to be at the core of the professionals. It is getting into the same space that you would expect from engineers, doctors, and accountants. The level in which IT output has gotten into, it has gotten into a critical level in that it can have the same devastating effect that a poorly built bridge could have. So it is imperative that the organization, the industry is professionalized, and that is the biggest work that we do. So we ensure that we develop our members. We develop them through a couple of interventions of events where certain topics of interests are shared, and also there is some of the trainings that are a little bit formalized that goes through in the space. So that is the largest aspect of the work that we do, and we've got also other things that we do prior to the level of professionalism, like the computer Olympiad, which is happening at the level of school children. Children are given a problem, and with the problem, then they programmatically solve a particular problem. This happens annually, and it's one of the things that we encourage for school kids to actually partake in, because it actually makes them to be more exposed to this industry, and also to see what the limits and the capabilities of IT are in resolving some of the topical issues and problems that we've got. So that is one of the things that we do. We also give bursaries on 2 levels. The first level is at school-going age, where we give bursaries for our online course on Java, for those who are in schools that are also providing a computer programming as a subject. So we give them a bursaries on that, so that they are able to get their skill up. So that is one level, and we've got on a university level, we are running a program on women in IT, and we want to propagate for women to be in this space. This is the work that we are doing from an IITP SA perspective. And there is on Africa ICT Alliance, which is also is an organization which is pushing for promotion of digital adoption in Africa, and with that we are running a couple of interventions in the space with the African Union, United Nations, just to ensure that there is a addressing of the sustainability goals. And in that space, what we are pushing mostly on is the issue of affordability of access to internet from the poorest of the poor in Africa. As we know that is one highly pivotal moment. If we have people accessing the internet, it will address a couple of challenges that we've got that are being introduced by the issue of access to resources.
Yeah, so that was quite informative. I mean, you're involved in a lot of things, especially in Africa, you know, looking to solve some of the biggest problems that we have. And we are exploring, you know, what it means to move into the fourth industrial revolution, what a role IT will play in all of the industries, actually. And we're also looking at what it means to have African solutions to these problems, and also what it means to be African, you know, because we approach things a little differently. We have different problems, different culture than, you know, companies overseas or people living in other countries. So this is a question I ask everybody, right? What does it mean to be African for you?
Oh yeah, thanks. I think being African goes beyond the fact that one is born in Africa, which is just an obvious item, but it is a more of being having a sense of being a human, having Ubuntu. I think when you are in Africa and everywhere else in the world, you will see that the characteristics of differentiation, that in Africa it's a bit warm, people are warm, and they've got Ubuntu, they are caring, they are a family and a community conscious people who are in most of the time very humble, and they are accepting to others. In as much as Africa has got as many resources as it is got, I think at the center of it and at the center of being African, it is that element of humanity and Ubuntu. And it is what is actually making Africa vibrant and what it is.
I completely agree. You know, that's one of the core things that we need to keep, you know, in mind when we're designing new things for the future. Speaking of which, you know, Africa has so many problems that need to be addressed. So in your mind, you know, what are the biggest challenges that we are facing that, you know, the new technologies coming up in the fourth industrial revolution can possibly help us to deal with?
I think when you look at Africa, there is a couple of themes that comes in when one listens to either the news or when you've got other brothers that are staying either in the township, they stay outside the country, and in Africa widely. You will hear a couple of challenges, which is the challenges about access to resources, challenges about our vast land being as beautiful as it is, but now when it comes to an issue of location and being able to, from a location where you are, to have access to things, it's not necessarily as easy as it could be. As you know, we we don't necessarily have unlimited resources to just place them everywhere. So I think at the core of it, you will see that there is that challenge of geography and being at a particular place at a particular time to be able to access resources. While that is the case, then there is other things that are linked to it. So the things that are linked to it are challenges about poverty, the challenges about having people to be economically and gainfully involved in the economy. And we have challenges of health system. We have issues of poor education outcomes. I do not want to say it's poor education system per se, because you find pockets while you are in South Africa and we are running a CAPS system. You find that the curriculum and how it has been designed and how everything has to happen, it seems that it has to happen in a particular standard manner, but the outcomes are not consistent. So we have those challenges. And when I look at those challenges, and the question that is lingering on the minds is that, given what you've got, then therefore, how do we solve these problems with technology? You will see that technology, just to leverage on the item that I spoke about earlier on, which is if one has got access into this internet network, what it helps by ensuring that we do not have an issue of space and time and location. Look at myself and yourself. We are not in the same room, but we are in a way. So we are able to converse, we are able to have this particular meeting. And in actual fact, if we were to have a workshop or work on something while you are where you are and I'm here where I am, we can be able to do that. And if you were able to give me a lecture while you are sitting where you are sitting, I will receive it in the very same way as we would have been in the same classroom. Mm. So just this access to internet would actually assist immensely in dealing with some of these issues that we are highlighting, that are brought about by a lack of access to resources and the issue of location. So now let's look at the issue of a health system. Health itself, there is the aspect of health being advisory, and there's also health being things that you need to do physically. So on a primary health level, you would see that a presence of people who do not necessarily have went to do the MBCHB degrees, they can still operate at that level. So you can have nurses and assistants operating at that level. But the issue that we are having is the access to a handful scarce resources of doctors. So by having access to this internet and so, I can, in theory, have one doctor servicing a clinic in Polokwane and a clinic in the remotest of the areas, while they still stay wherever they are staying. So that is the beauty of having this digital revolution being done, and also having this access to the internet. So look at also in terms of employment. I mean, employment, when you look at certain processes that had started a long time ago, like your business process outsourcing, which includes call centers and all those things, you would have realized that there has been for a long time certain companies that are in the US and everywhere else using call centers in South Africa or in India. So, which shows that having this technology, it can enable South Africa to be able to earn foreign income, having our people being employed, not necessarily having to have the firms located in this country, but we still have the beauty and the advantage of earning that particular income just by having this access to internet. I will just maybe extend it to education. In education, in Mpumalanga, they had started this way before we speak about the COVID, even speaking about fourth industrial revolution, where they were having challenges with having good teachers in mathematics and science. And what they started to do, because they production things called boards. So they link located in another part of Mpumalanga to other schools. And example, one school will be in Witbank and another one will be in Emelo. And they will link to the schools, and a teacher will teach across the schools, teaching multitudes of classes, and just having a tutor in remote locations, and that teacher will disseminate the information and answer the questions, and you find that over 200 or so kids at the time able to access this teacher and access that education in that manner. So I think this fourth industrial revolution, and that is maybe a technology that could have been old. You can imagine if we're now speaking about this technology that myself and you are using now, it actually, the sky is the limit. That's basically what I see. I can see illiteracy drastically and employment going up. Yeah, thank you.
I definitely agree with everything you said, because I think the technology that we have can increase access for remote areas in terms of education and health, and that's so important. But what exactly is being done in our country to improve the infrastructure for people to actually have access to these resources?
Yeah, Zahara, in South Africa, the thing is there is many people who are trying to do something. So, but however, what perhaps lacks in all of this is coordination, so that coordination moves in a mass, so that one is able to see that kind of movement. So we've got a couple of many interventions, and they are every year. I think it's around this time when COVID is not there. There is a convention that comes together. It's called Solution Exchange. So a couple of interventions that are showing what has been done, and most of those interventions are actually targeted at the youth to try and make things better. And with those interventions, you would see companies or groups such as the Harambee Group on what they actually are doing in this space. But just to be specific, if you can see, you'll see that the government has tried to institute some of the programs, and those programs were done through television channels. This is one of the interventions as we were closed on the COVID, and they were having certain, they even had some celebrities just to make it more attractive to the young ones, and to have certain classes that are ranging from language literacy right up until numerical. So you would have seen those programs being instituted through the government. We had also companies such as Vodacom. It had instituted a an online schooling system where you are able to access, I think you access it for free, if I'm not mistaken. That platform, you can access it for free. I've seen Microsoft has taken up a couple of schools onto their platform so that the Teams platform can be used for the online education. I've also seen, and the unfortunate thing is the colorful stories that are happening around the tenders. But however, I've seen that there has been a lot of other good work that has been done to try and roll out equipment itself to schools that are poor, so as to get them to be ready for this online education. I think that was being done. So this is just maybe from an education front, but when you look also in the medical front, there is a couple of interventions that have been done to deal with this digital. There is a fantastic gentleman, I think by the name of Neo Huma, who also has designed a post box type of a system to facilitate for distribution of what do you call this medicine for people who are sick, people who've got critical conditions like your HIV, diabetes, and so that their medication can be posted to them, not for them to have to travel, and one stays in a place like Kofimbaba, having to travel lots of kilometers to go to town for medication. But they designed a system in which you are able to get your medication through a system that is that works like a post box. It has got some codes that when you have to go and fetch it, it gives you that a notification. You get a code through your cell phone. You go there to a post box type of a thing that is local. Then you fetch your medication. Very, very simple type of an innovation, but very effective. So these are the type of innovations that you find that are happening. And you will see in terms of employment in the space of the digital world, there is at the moment a couple of things that are running, which are maybe micro tasks, things where people are giving their opinions. It's companies that are working in the market research spaces, and they are employing a couple of things. At this point, it's not yet taken off in a big way, but I think there's a couple of companies, panel stations, global market research, and all those companies. They are trying to get into the space, and people who are necessarily not employed, they are able to partake and give their views, which are in most cases views that are coming from the townships are not taken up by marketing companies. So marketing companies do not understand the majority of our market, how it works. And it's a good way to do it. I know it's still micro tasks in that I think the payments are not yet necessarily at the level that you can make a living out of those things. But it's a start to show that digital work, at least and opportunities can be there, can be taken up. And if people have got access to internet, which is cheap or free, you already have a platform to at least get people to do something that is gainful to the economy.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so much of opportunity, especially, in the township with, having the skills there, the problem solving, the information technology skills. There's so much that they can do. There's so much of jobs that can be created. It's just about getting the access to them and also getting the skills to them so that they can create these jobs for themselves. And, one of the important skills that we need, especially for the young people, I think you mentioned this before, is about design thinking. So what is your take on that?
Yes, yeah, our young ones will need to maybe have different skill sets from what we most probably were taught at school. I mean, the other day, as I'm speaking to my young child, he's 10 years old. I asked him what interests him, what does he think he's gonna do when he grows up, and he tells me work bores him, but he's interested in being a YouTuber. As I'm like, you're being a YouTuber, it's not a job. But nonetheless, it means the world has moved on from what I thought it to be. And the thinking, the design thinking type of skills and creative problem solving type of skills are skills that are coming handy in that not only are they industry or vocational specific, but they can make a person to be in a position that they can solve any type of a problem. So that is very important. And the most important thing about the design thinking, it is the fact that, in my view, it is actually Afrocentric in nature, because it is human. It deals with being empathetic. It deals in being caring. It makes sure that what we are designing it specifically for the conditions of the people. It makes you to walk in the foot of the people that you are designing a system for. How many parks have you seen being designed having a footpath that has got very expensive paving, and you look at that paving, you see a footpath going into the grass to show that there's a path in the grass, that this was not the design thought. So the thinking there was an engineering thinking, just gravitated on what's the cheapest and the aesthetically good looking design, and they designed it. But it was not for the users. You'll see that the people have put their own path, and that path, you can see the fact that grass has gone out there. It shows that most people gravitate with that one. So that's where the paving was supposed to go. Yeah. So I think design thinking is very important in that manner. And in my view, I think it is African. It is. I would say design thinking was actually created in Africa.
So this is a very important thing, right? You mentioned a lot of things about before about taking, the township view into account when we're building products, when we're designing solutions. And, design thinking is so important because it helps us to be empathetic to our users. And we need to know these things, because for us to develop the solutions that are needed in Africa, we need to have these skills. Otherwise, we're going to create things that nobody needs or nobody's going to be using. So it's very important. I think also, these skills need to be reaching as many people as possible. So I mean, even starting in schools, what do you think should be being added to the classroom?
Yes, Zara. Our schools as they are, but I actually look at the curriculum of my kids, and I wouldn't know, maybe it's because it's a different school system or anything, but I look at what they do, and I look at what I most probably was doing at school, and I realize that I wonder what these kids will be doing in high school if they are doing what they are doing in primary. But nonetheless, I think maybe the government and the school system has started to improve. But however, the thing that has to be emphasized on is to make sure that we've got a critical thinking in our kids. We make sure that they are creative and they can be able to solve problems. And we need to move away from this thing of duplicity of right and wrong, and move into the space of being able to be embracing in how people are solving things. Credit has to be given in the thinking process rather than in the answer. How many times have we been in the same room with a person who says, can I actually ask a stupid question? And we end up 4 hours down the line, that particular point that was declared to be a stupid point is the only point that really is we're going with. So we need to be in that space, the space of ensuring that we are embracing in the space that kids, when they are taught, they are not made to be afraid that they are in a right and wrong situation. They are in a scenario, in a situation where their creative juices are being cultivated. They are in a situation where when they are solving for a problem, they solve for a problem that is empathetic, that is constructive, that is positive, that is humane, and I think we'll have a better outcomes in future.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, that's why we started this project, to kind of bring those skills to as many people as possible, whether they at a school or homeschooling or unschooling, whatever it is, these skills are so important for kids growing further, going into the future, because if we don't have these thinking skills in the next generation, we are all doomed, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the world is changing, the world of work is changing, the way we perceive IT and professionals are changing. Any last thoughts on this topic, of what's happening in the space that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, thank you. I think in the space of IT is no longer a specialist space. If you think about it, it's a way of life, and it's going to be central to everything that we do going forward. And in essence, that's why we are saying in the new normal, IT becomes the normal as well. So this is a challenge to us. We are having the challenge, which is a dietitian's challenge now going forward, because everybody eats, they think they're a dietitian. The same with IT. Everybody, because they use IT, they think going forward they are IT professionals. Not that we will mind, we like a lot, as many people as possible, to be IT professionals. However, it puts in at the doorsteps of IT is used, and also it is developed ethically, because we've got a lot of technologies that could highly improve the things that we've got and make our economy and life. On the other hand, destroy a lot of things. Is a moral ethics and professionalism is actually coming to be something very important as we are moving forward, and we need to have ethical young people going into this profession as we go on. Artificial intelligence, if you think about it, and things such as robotics are going to be important things as we move on. And if we do not get to us to have people to be ethical, I mean, they can do so many things that are wrong in this space, and they can actually even propagate prejudices that we never knew they could be at scale if we leave this space unchecked. So it is very important, and it is critical to have ethics and people who are ethical working in this space.
Yeah, so I definitely think that's part of the culture and our value system. not just for
Yes.
IT, but because IT is going to be in everything, and we need that ethics and those values in every
Yes.
industry. So, like, what can we be doing now, to start conscientizing people to this and creating that kind of value system in the next generation?
Yes. Yeah. As you alluded, this moves over and above the profession itself. It starts at the level of a home. But however, I will take it from an IITPSA perspective that our reach actually needs to go into the pipeline. It should not just only start where we have people already going into the system, but we need to start them much earlier, not even in high school. We need to conscientize this at a lower level. I know that from the government side, there's been a push to make coding and robotics to be one of the mandatory courses, and it's hardcore skills. However, I think that we need to actually influence that type of a curriculum, not only from our side, but even from our colleagues who are working in things such as governance and ethics, so that they assist in making sure that the curriculum in how it's going to be done, it is done in a way that it already impact the ethical codes and the conduct from an early age, so that when you see a child, maybe as they went through the system, and you get them at a teenage age level, and you ask them, can you do maybe a hack for me? And they can flatly refuse, not because of the skill, but they can tell you that it is not right. It is actually in their mind equivalent to you having asked them to kill a person. So it has to be in that manner. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So that's an important thing, because we've already seen, in our country, how corruption has destroyed a lot of things, and we don't want that to go into the future. So we need a generation of people who have values and morals and ethics in everything that they're doing, especially when it comes to technology, which is pretty much going to be everywhere.
Yes, yes,
So
definitely.
Thabo, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, for having this conversation. Such important topics you brought up, and I'm so glad you're working in the space, doing so much of things for Africa and the IT profession itself. Any last words you have for us? Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, thanks, Zahara. I think the program that you are busy with is very important. It's something that is needed for us in South Africa, not only in South Africa, but in Africa. I think and hope that we will work together and hold hands. As I highlighted earlier, most of the programs, there's lots of programs that are happening. The most important thing is us to collaborate and
Yeah.
to integrate in making sure that the outcomes that we get the outcomes that are of national impact, or for that matter, continental impact, without having to claim the victory as sole institutions, but
Yeah.
as a collective.
I
Yeah,
completely
thank you.
agree. I mean, we can't solve this challenge or meet this challenge as individuals. We have to work together and collaborate and help each other, because it's such a huge undertaking. And that's, why we're having these
Correct.
conversations, to make sure that we're all on the same page and helping each other and learning from each other. That's an important thing. So I
Yes,
look forward to working with you,
yes.
Thabo. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Zahara. Much appreciated.